Shall we put our palms together? May our respect be to the Buddha, who is perfectly enlightened, and the Blessed. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato samma sambuddhassa. Exorcism is a part of many religions and many cultural traditions. However, Buddha did not teach exorcism. Buddha also prohibited all his monks practicing exorcism. By Vinaya precepts, all the monks are prohibited to practice exorcism. Now, the question may arise, if it is the case, what do the Buddhist monks do when the followers approach them and ask the help in the cases of spirit possessions? So this is the question that I'm going to answer today. But before we answer this question, we need to have some background understanding. First of all, who are these spirits? The word spirit is used to mean some sort of living beings with subtler level astral bodies. They do not have physical level gross type of bodies, but it is believed their bodies are made of subtler elements which cannot be seen through the naked eyes. This is the popular belief among many religions. Many religions in the world believe the existence of such beings. So spirit is a generic term, a broader term to absorb all these beings with subtle level astral bodies. Buddhists also believe the existence of such beings. What about the spirit possessions? Not only the existence of these beings, people also believe that these spirits can possess the human beings. Many religions not only accept the fact that these beings can possess human beings, but they also recommend exorcism, very elaborate religious rituals and ceremonies. Let's take a few examples. In Hinduism, we come across their sacred texts, Vedas. There are 4 collections of Vedas. They are composed around 1000 BC. In these religious texts, it is clearly mentioned about these spirit beings who intervene the work of the Hindu gods. And also it is mentioned, these beings can harm human beings, can possess the bodies of the human beings. The 4th collection of the Veda, which is known as Atharva Veda, specifically deal with this problem. And they mentioned the secret of exorcism. What about Christianity? Jesus Christ was the premier exorcist in his time. As much as 1/4 of his healings are exorcism. And in Christianity, it is recognized the ability to cast off the evil spirits or practicing exorcism is a mark of true discipleship among apostles. What about Judaism? In Judaism, the rituals related to exorcism can trace back to 1st century AD. And they talk about spirit called debunk. Debuk is a spirit who can possess the human beings and control the actions of the human beings. Exorcism is recommended. It is possible through religious practices. That is what Judaism says. Likewise, many other religions also not only accept the fact of the existence of these spirits, and also they believe that these spirits can possess human beings, and then exorcism is introduced. So this is a common belief. Question may ask, why do these beings possess humans? Well, it is again a popular belief that there are 3 reasons people believe that spirits possess human beings. One of the cases, since these beings do not have gross level physical bodies, they possess the human body and to do what they wish to do. So they borrow the human body to do what they wish to do. This is one possibility. The other possibility, that they possess the human beings out of anger, hatred, to cause harm as a way of taking revenge. Third possibility, out of goodwill, to help out. So these are the 3 possibilities that human beings speculate related to spirit possessions. Now, what I said, all these are not part of Buddhism. Remember, these are not mentioned by the Buddha. These are not found in the suttas. But these are common belief among many religions. So Buddhists also believe in it. What do the psychologists say? According to psychologists and psychiatrists, spirit possessions are mental conditions created by prolonged fatigue or because of negative emotions, prolonged depression, stress, tension, alcoholism, or drug abuse. Such are the reasons that they point out. They specifically recognize 2 types of mental diseases which are very commonly mistaken to be spirit possessions. One of them is known as multiple personality disorders. And it is said, under this mental disease, the patient can project different types of personalities. And the personalities can be very diverse. Different age, different gender, or even different ethnic origin. The other mental disease that they recognize with the spirit possession is schizophrenia. And with these hallucinations, and the patient live in an inner world where that patient can hallucinate that he or she can implant the thoughts into the other heads, or they can perceive beings, or they can recognize the thoughts of the other beings. Basically, it is related to hallucinations. So these two types of mental diseases are categorically recognized or mistaken or misinterpreted to be spirit possession. Now, as I said at very beginning, Buddha did not teach exorcism. Not only that, Buddha prohibited the monks practicing exorcism. If it is the case, what do the Buddhist monks do when you invite them to come to your house, believing that there is some unseen beings, believing someone is possessed by spirits? We are not allowed to do exorcism. So what do we do? So this is very important for all of us to understand. True Buddhist practice. Now, during last 2,500 years of the dispensation of the Buddha, the monks, they have come out with skillful means, practices that can help Buddhist followers to overcome these problems. Basically, we recognize the underlying fundamental cause root of this issue. In Buddhism, we recognize if you were to be possessed by a spirit, it has to be happen or under your weak mental condition. When your mind is weak and when your mind is negative, then it is possible. If it is a psychological problem like a mental disease, again the cause root of it is your negative and weak mind. So we come to this conclusion. Whether it is a genuine spirit possession or whether it is a psychological disease, mental disease, it happens when human mind is weak and negative. If human mind is positive and if it is powerful, then no spirit can possess you. There is no way that you will get mental diseases. So we address the issue based on this principle, with this understanding. So when the Buddhist monks come to know, or when the cases of spirit possessions were brought to them, and they understand that the ultimate problem realized in the mind itself. So what we have to do, we need to change of this person, which is negative and weak now, to be positive and powerful. So we adopt certain religious and spiritual practices, which also has got its own psychological effects. And we transform the negativity of the human mind to be positivity. We instruct in such a way to condition the human mind in a positive, constructive, and wholesome way. So all the base for spirit possession or the base for mental diseases disappear and the patient recover. But remember, there might be some cases which is beyond of our help, which you need to meet a doctor and take proper medication. Well, so we analyze the case first. Is it a true spirit possession or not, or whether it is a mental disease or not. With experience and Dhamma understanding, when we understand this, then we also think whether we can help this case or not. And if you understand at the very beginning, this is beyond of our help, upfront, that monk or nun who follow the Dhamma will tell you that you need to find other solution. Now, assuming that we can help this human being, what are the actions that monks do? There is no standard level type of actions which we do for all the cases. But case by case, the actions and religious practices and skillful means that we use are different. I will tell you most common ones. One of them is Paritta chanting. Paritta chanting is a religious practice, and it is also a form of meditation if you know how to do it properly. Paritta chanting produces 3 types of energies. One type of them is sound energy. When the suttas are chanted according to a particular rhythm, and that generates sound energy. When you listen to the Paritta chanting, it affects your mind. It helps the mind to become calm, serene, peaceful. Paritta chanting energizes the human mind. Negativity will change to be positive. Your stress, tension, agony disappear. So through Paritta chanting, monks and nuns who are well versed in this practice, they generate a positive types of sound energy which can be helpful for the listener, for the patient. This is one type of energy. Second types of energy that they generate is based on their own virtue, their own spiritual practice. Monks and nuns, they uphold righteous principles, they refrain from evil and cultivate good and uphold a lot of sila qualities. So when they themselves uphold the Dhamma and practice virtue, and they can generate the virtuous power. So when they chant these parittas out of great compassion and goodwill, they exercise their own spiritual power, their own spiritual power that they cultivate throughout years. And they do it out of compassion. This is a kind of a spiritual power. On the other hand, when the Paritta chanting is done with mindfulness, with a concentrated mind, when the listener listens to it with mindfulness, then of course, with this interaction, we also produce a kind of psychological effect, which helps the person to change his mind to be positive, constructive, and wholesome. In Paritta chanting, we also use blessed water. And after the chanting session is over, we sprinkle blessed water to the patient, the so-called the person who is possessed by spirit or under influence of the unseen beings, or if it is even under the mental disease, whatever the condition, we sprinkle the blessed water, we sprinkle blessed water all around the house. We also use the blessed strings. These blessed water and strings, they have got their own religious, spiritual, and psychological effects on the people. The string itself, other than having its own spiritual and religious significance, it has its own psychological value and effect as well. You feel that you are protected with the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha because we strongly believe the blessings of the triple gems. So any Buddhist practitioner, when wear the blessed strings, will feel the blessings. Not only that, it will remind you to follow the path of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. It will remind you to maintain the positively conditioned, constructive, wholesome state of the mind after Parita chanting. You have to maintain it. This Parita chanting can be vary from person to person. Perhaps it might be one-time chanting. Perhaps it might be, depend on the cases, few days, means few sessions that goes through few days. Or it can be even overnight chanting sessions. Depend on the case that the monks will recommend. So we will do the Parita chanting. So this is one of the things. Other than that, what else do we do? And as we recognize, through the Parita chanting, we change the mindset of that human being, and then all the negativity will disappear. So the base for mental diseases or base for spirit possessions will disappear, but we need to maintain it. We need to maintain it. So what do? We encourage that person to adopt simple religious practices. It can be a form of chanting, a protective chanting. Usually these protective chantings, they are short verses, 4 lines verses, easily can remember, can be chanted as a poem, rhythmically can be chanted, easily learned, and easily remembered, and it includes the virtue of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. So what do? We teach these verses to the person and teach its meaning and ask the persons to think of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha and chant these verses. So this person himself, when chant, he or she also generates sound energy, also generates virtuous energy, also generate his or her own positive, constructive mental power. So this person will maintain the stableness of the mind. So in this way, it will help him to recover faster. We also introduce meditation techniques. Especially depend on case by case, the meditation techniques we teach are also different. But most common types of that we encourage, one of them is Buddhanusati. It means recollecting the 9 virtues of the Buddha. When you recollect the power of the Buddha, spiritual power, his virtue, concentration, his great 9 virtues, when you recollect, your mind becomes positive, constructive, and wholesome. All the kind of fear disappear. So we encourage the person at any time that person feel gloomy, moody, miserable, which is negativity of the mind, or fear, or any kind of such kind of negativity effect, then we ask that person to think of the Buddha, reflect on the Buddha, or even encourage to recite Itipiso Bhagava, which is very famous that all of you know. The other types of practices are related to mindfulness practices. Here we teach, based on again case by case, how mindfulness meditation practice can be used to observe one's own feelings, one's own thought formations. So in this way, at the moment that the negativity comes to the mind, the practitioner will notice it and can take immediate action. Before it leads to stress, tension and depression and such negative conditions which can create spirit possessions or mental diseases, we prevent it at very beginning, nip in the bud. So we teach mindfulness practices. Basically, we derived mindfulness practices from the Buddha's teaching of mindfulness, Samma Sati. Here I had to tell you something. Today, when it comes to mindfulness practices, there are a lot of people who teach mindfulness in secular base. Sometimes these courses are very costly. You have to pay thousands of dollars to attend these courses. But these mindfulness practices taught by the teachers in secular sense, and they have their own effect, of course. That is also the Buddha's mindfulness teaching. But these teachings doesn't have any religious or spiritual base, and it is not Samma Sati taught by the Buddha. So only Buddha's mindfulness techniques can lead to destroy the delusion and enlightenment, not the secular ones. But the secular ones still will be helpful. So you have to have clear understanding of this. Mindfulness taught in secular sense, of course, it will be helpful in mundane aspect. And mindfulness taught by the Buddha is to be practiced based on ethical ground and spiritual ground, and end goal must be enlightenment. So what we teach is the Buddha's mindfulness of Samma Sati, right mindfulness. So these are the techniques that we use to help these people, not secular sense of mindfulness. So remember it. So we still encourage ethical and spiritual background. So with this background, we use the mindfulness, and because mindfulness helps to reduce delusion. After all these spirits or all these mental diseases, they all are rooted in delusion, in deluded mind. Only deluded human beings can be possessed by spirits, not enlightened beings, not a positive mind. Only a negative mind can be possessed by spirit. So we try to change this through mindfulness practice. Another method that we adopt is Dhamma Counseling. If it is needed, we ask the person to come, and we counsel this person, perhaps maybe many days or many weeks, or some cases even goes many months. They need help to overcome. We need to help them until they establish. So we do Dhamma Counseling. Here, when we do the Dhamma Counseling, we use the Buddha's teaching as platform to help these people. And eventually, through Dhamma Counseling, we encourage them to come to Dhamma classes. We encourage them to follow Buddhist teachings, Buddhist courses. We encourage them to go for Dhamma talk. We encourage them to go for retreats. In this way, eventually we get these people into Dhamma practice, because we strongly believe eventually it is the Dhamma, the Noble Eightfold Path, that can lead to uproot all these negativity from the human mind and break through the delusion and achieve enlightenment. So these are the practices we do when we come across spirit possessions. Starting from the very beginning, and we step by step, we lead the person to upward to the Dhamma. So when this person is established in Dhamma practice, and that person is beyond the spirit possessions, that person is beyond the mental diseases. So this person is immune to all spirit possessions and all the mental diseases the moment this person starts to practice the Dhamma. So that is what we do. So this process that monks practice should not be mistaken to be exorcism, but rather what we call it, invoking the great blessings of the triple gems. That is what we call it. Now, before I end up my talk, I had to say this too. There might be some monks and nuns who practice exorcism. What I have to say, these monks and nuns, whoever practice exorcism, they are not practicing Buddhism. So don't misunderstand. Just because a monk practice some sort of exorcism or such kind of black magic and all these, and don't think that it is a part of the Buddhist teaching. And here my talk, of course, is given from the Theravada Buddhist point of view and practices, based on the Theravada Buddhist practices. There might be some other Buddhist traditions where they have exorcism. Specifically, to talk about Tibetan Buddhist tradition, they have exorcist practices. So remember, my talk here today is specifically based on the Theravada school point of view and practices. Okay, this much is enough as a talk. You might have some questions.
Okay, I've got mics here. Anyone? Questions?
Thank you, Bhante, for the talk. I've got two questions. First one is, why did the Buddha forbid the exorcism? Second question is, what are these spirits that actually possess the people? What are they? You know, what's the spirits? Come from where and all that? Thank you.
Let's go one by one. First of all, why did the Buddha prohibit monks practicing exorcism? In the first place, why do you want to be a monk or a nun? You be a monk or a nun to practice the Noble Eightfold Path and realize the enlightenment for yourself. At the same time, to make this Dhamma known to the people so the others also can follow the Dhamma and attain enlightenment. So this is the mission and vision entrusted by the Buddha to his ordained disciples. The other side issues are kept aside. Exorcism has nothing to do with enlightenment or enlightenment practices. So not only exorcism, there are others practices that the Buddha did not encourage, like doing business for monks and nuns, not suitable. If you want to do business, then you don't need to be a monk or nun. Becoming a politician and involved in politics is not suitable for monks, then you should not. Becoming a doctor, soothsayer, all these are professions. So when you become a monk or nun, you are not looking for a profession. Remember, monkhood is not a profession. Monkhood is not a profession. We become monks and nuns not for the sake of living. We become monks and nuns because we strongly believe Dhamma can lead us to awakening, and we also believe that Dhamma can change other human beings to become better human beings. So we dedicate our life for Dhamma practice. So if a monk were to adopt exorcism, exorcism by definition, it is a profession. It is a profession. You are paid for it. Bomo. Correct? It's a Bomo practice. I mean, here in a very popular terms, it's Bomo. But in every human culture, we have such practices. This is a profession in ancient world which is well recognized. And different cultures, this profession is recognized differently. So this is a profession. In ancient time, in the time of the Buddha, there were people, there were priests, there were people who practiced this profession. And after all, what does this practice involve? Do you know what is exorcism? What do they do? In exorcist practice, they do a lot of rites and rituals, sometimes even involve killing animals and offering blood and meat to these evil spirits. Do you know that? There are involvement of beating the patients. Do you know that? Harassment, torture. Do you know that? So do you expect me to do that? Buddhist monks, we are supposed to be kind, compassion, gentle, and out of great compassion, we share the Dhamma teaching. So imagine if a monk were to practice these kind of things. And these are the reasons why Buddha prohibited. It is not our domain. That's not for the sake we become monks. That is beyond of our practice. So, of course, there are many reasons. I think this much is enough for you to understand why it is prohibited. But then again, as I said, even the Buddha has prohibited it. Throughout 2,500 years history, we had to face this issue again and again and again. So the monks had to come out with a solution. Why? Today you come and say, Bhante, my brother was possessed by spirit. Can you please do something? So if I said, I don't practice all these things. I practice only Noble Eightfold Path to attain enlightenment. Then you might go and you have to find a solution, correct? So there are many other religions who are waiting for the opportunities, correct? They will say, oh, come to us, we will support you. We have this exorcist practice because all the other religions are practicing it. All the other religions are practicing exorcism. So what will happen, the Buddhist followers, when they do not have an option, of course, they have to go to the other religions, and perhaps maybe you are converted. So perhaps maybe our forefathers and grandfathers in Buddhist tradition, they noticed all these things, so they had to come out with it. So it was a social need. So the Buddhist monks came out these practices, which is paritta chanting, which I explained, using blessed strings, blessed water, using Dhamma Counseling, using meditation, and all the using protective chanting, which is to be repeated, and all these are introduced by the Buddhist monks, not by the Buddha. Remember, but it's based on Buddhist teaching. So since Buddha prohibited exorcism, we had to be skillful and come out with a system that can help the human beings. We recognize as very beginning, these spirit possessions or mental diseases come into existence because of the negativity of the human mind, because of delusion, because of all these defilements. So what we have to do to help our followers in a skillful way, leading them to upward to Dhamma, eventually to the Noble Eightfold Path. So that is what we do. We start with paritta chanting and we end in Noble Eightfold Path. That is the skillful path. So came out by the monks. What was the second question? Okay, as I said, Buddha did not talk about spirit possession or exorcism. This is a common belief among the people and many religions. It is believed that there are beings without gross level physical bodies, but they are with subtle level astral bodies. In Buddhist teaching also we accept the existence of such beings. And one of the category of such beings that we recognize is unhappy beings, what we call them petas. But of course, today the word Peta is translated into hungry ghost, which has another implication, because the hungry ghost concept in Tao religion is very different from Buddhist teaching. What has happened when Buddhism is spread into China, and since Buddhism is a very peaceful religion, it coexisted with the Taoism and Confucianism, and eventually they blend together. So this hungry ghost concept mixed up. So Buddhist view about a hungry ghost or Petas, and the Tao belief or view about a hungry ghost are very, very different. But this is not the time to give a different talk on that, because it takes a lot of time. Well, these beings that we recognize as Peta beings, and recognize they are with subtler bodies, they can be easily labeled as spirits. They are spirits. So Peta beings or hungry ghosts, they are spirits. But remember, hungry ghost concept in Tao religion and Buddhist teaching are very different. There are different teachings. And these beings are spirit, and according to the Buddhist teaching, they are not living in a different world, or they are not locked up in a different place, and there is no belief that a particular time the gates are open and they come, and particular time, there are no such kind of belief. But belief is that these beings exist with subtler bodies among the human beings, or the Peta realm is connected with human realm itself. It's a different realm, exists based on the planet Earth. So Peta realm is not a different planet or different world. It's a different realm, but exists in the planet, on the Earth itself. Because we recognize 31 realms of existence, so Peta realm is one of them. So Petas are recognized with subtler bodies, and these can be considered as spirits. Did I answer your question? No? Can you ask the question again? Where are these beings, is it? Oh, they are everywhere. They are everywhere. They can be everywhere. Because they are with subtler bodies. Petas, what we call shadow-like beings. They don't have grosser types of bodies. Now, look at this. Science today says universe may have 10 to 11 dimensions. And they say human beings, we live in third dimension. And they still say that if there are beings in fourth or fifth dimensions, we may not be able to pursue them. We should not think that what we see, what we hear, what we sense is the only world. Is it logical to think that in this vast universe with billions of galaxies, we are the only species? The Earth is the only place life exists? That is beyond the logic. Now, Buddhism recognizes there are various realms of existence. Science recognizes different dimensions. According to scientific discoveries or explanation, our human eye is very limited. What we can see through our human eye is only 7 colors that we can see in rainbows. They recognize it 400 nanometers to 700 nanometers. This is our visual spectrum. Our hearing capacity is still very limited. So, human beings, our human capacity to hear the sound is also limited. There are ultrasound and infrasounds we cannot hear. But Buddhism talks about that if we develop the mind, and the mind has itself a kind of ability to develop, to achieve some extra sense perceptions related knowledge. These knowledges are known as abhijna. Through mental cultivation, through meditation, you can achieve. There are two types of abhijna, which among many that Buddhism recognizes. One is known as Dibba Chakku, divine eye, ability to perceive the beings or things beyond the human capacity. The other one is known as Dibba Sota, the divine ear, the ability to hear the subtler sound beyond the human capacity. There are many references where the monks and nuns who develop these abilities and they perceive such beings. So these are recorded. Anyway, when we talk about them, it is because of our belief in them. It is not that we directly see it. But if any human being wants to perceive these beings directly, then how to do it is taught in Buddhist teachings. You need to meditate. You need to achieve jhanas. Then afterwards, you need to develop your knowledge based on the methods that they talk to achieve these extra perceptions related knowledges. So according to Buddhist belief, these beings are everywhere and they can be anywhere because they are shadow-like beings.
Thank you, Venerable, for sharing your knowledge with us. Just a quick point to clarify with you, if possible. You mentioned that the Sangha developed these practices over 2,500 years to help the lay people. I was born in Sri Lanka myself, and there's a sutta, I'm sure you're very familiar with, Ratana Sutra, which my understanding was that Lord Buddha himself developed that or recited that to help, amongst other things, problems that the village people were having with spirits. Can you elaborate on that, please, if possible? The Ratana Sutta?
Ratana Sutta, of course, given by the Buddha himself. Not only Ratana Sutta, there were many other suttas. Even Metta Sutta, if you know the Metta Sutta, and it is said that the group of monks went to practice meditations and they were disturbed by the spirits, and then the Buddha taught them Metta Sutta. When it comes to Ratana Sutta, and why did the Buddha why did he teach Ratana Sutta? When you go to that, we come across Ratana Sutta was taught by the Buddha to dispel the spirits from the famous prosperous city of Vaisali. Vaisali city was affected by drought. There was no rain, so the cultivation of the crops came to the stop. So people started to die because of epidemics and hunger. And then spirit possessions came, spirits also came into existence. So the Buddha delivered Ratana Sutta. Now these stories that the Buddha taught Ratana Sutta to dispel the spirits from the city, and immediately after Buddha taught Ratana Sutta, the rain came and all this. Yes, we have these, but where is it mentioned? This is mentioned in commentary. Of course, commentary we accept. Commentary we accept. That's why I said we accept the existence of spirit beings. But Buddha did not teach exorcism. And Buddha prohibit monks practicing exorcism. And this commentary, even if you go by this story of Ratana Sutta, this cannot be labeled as exorcism. What did the Buddha do over there according to the commentary? Buddha went with the monks and chanted Ratana Sutta and asked Venerable Ananda to sprinkle the blessed water in the city. That's it. And it is said the rain came and the city became prosperous again. There's no involvement of any sort of exorcism here. This is not exorcism. This is simply blessing service. This is what we do today. Correct? When you do Parita chanting, we sprinkle blessed water, correct? This is what we are doing. This is blessing service. This has nothing to do with exorcism. So there is no any kind of violent activities. There's no any kind of ritualistic offering of living beings, blood or meat or any such kind of things. There's no any damage done. So this is not exorcism. This is simply blessing service. So what is taught in Ratana Sutta is a blessing service, not exorcism. Yeah. Any other question?
Hello, Bhante. In the stories that you've actually mentioned, the focus was actually the person himself who has been possessed. But let's say if we were to consider a case of a disturbance to the place, would it not be a case of not actually supporting the person's but more the focus should be on whatever that is causing the disturbance? In other words, my question is it enough to do Metta Sutta? Let's say if one's home has been visited upon by such a being.
So you are asking what sutta to be chanted?
Not exactly, but my question now, because just now, as you were saying, if one were to be possessed, then the way about it is to actually support the person both spiritually and psychologically. But now, let's say if we have a case where a home is possessed by whatever it is, yeah, and it is causing a disturbance.
Well,
what then?
In this case also, we adopt different method. Of course, I said that there's no very standard way of doing it. Based on the situation, we will adopt different methods. But still, it will go with the Parita chanting. So Parita chanting is a must kind of thing. Most of the cases. But again, suppose if we are doing Parita chanting and we do the blessings, we sprinkle the blessed water and we do such kind of activities, at the end, it is the human beings who are living in that place is affected. If I can sleep peacefully, I don't care whether somebody else is, sleeping or hanging around. If I can have my own peace, there's nothing wrong, correct? Let them be around. So what do? The other option that we do, we transfer merits. We share the merits. This is also coming part of it. In places where people talk about some beings are hanging around and such kind of cases, other than doing Parita chanting, we also encourage the people to practice meritorious actions like offering dana. So we ask them to invite the monks to come to the house, and they can offer some foods and requests to the monks. The monks will do some Parita chanting, and then at the end we share the merits. We transfer merits. We share the merits with all the unseen beings, departed beings, and sentient beings. And what we are doing here is also not exorcism. What we are doing here also, when we share the merits out of great compassion, goodwill, friendship. We chant Metta Sutta, Ratana Sutta, and all the other important suttas. Don't ask what suttas I chant, because that's a secret that cannot be taught. So we will adjust and adapt accordingly. So we will help the beings. Most of the cases, through this kind of practices, the problem settled. 99% it's settled. There might be some cases that beyond of our, ability, but of course then you have to find your way. Yeah.
Bhante, just now you mentioned that for the Petas, right, they're not really hungry ghosts. They are like unhappy beings. What are they unhappy about? Like as human beings, right? Do we experience that kind of similar range of unhappiness that they experience? And if we do, how do we go about, resolving these issues?
Petas are recognized as unhappy beings, yes. First of all, let's understand what leads someone to be born among these unhappy beings. It is your own defilements. If you, while living a human life, if you were to cultivate a mind of these unhappy beings, then eventually after the death, you can be born among these beings. In Buddhist shrines, ancient time, people use the pictures to communicate. Other than the suttas and the text and the stories, pictures were very effective tools. I do not know, perhaps you might have seen how they depict the Petas in the wall of shrines, viharas. Most of the time, the pictures are depicted, these Peta beings with a big belly, very big belly, and very tiny throat, and very tiny, even tiny mouth. And the limbs are very, it's almost like a skeleton. But the most prominent was their belly, big belly, and tiny mouth. Now these pictures are used to communicate an idea. What was the idea? Do you think with this tiny mouth, we can feed this big belly? It is impossible. So what is the philosophy behind this? Excessive greed, unsatiated greed, unfulfilled desire, unsatisfied wishes. And these are depicted by big belly. No matter what amount of food that you can eat, you will never quench your hunger. So here, hunger means you are hungry for everything. You are hungry for pleasure. You are hungry for companionship. You are hunger is a word to mean your excessive greed and desire and your thirst. The word hunger and thirst, we should not confine only to the food and drink, but everything else. So what happens when you cannot satisfy yourself? You are unhappy. Peta beings are not only in hungry ghost realm. Peta beings are among the human beings. Peta beings, there are some human beings who are having unsatisfied desire, craving, and greed. They have so much, but still not enough. Not enough. So there is no saturating point. So what will happen if you were to develop such kind of mentality? Suppose you have got thousands of dollars in your bank account, but you do not use any single cent to give for charity. You don't give to your children. You don't give to your husband or wife. You greedily grab it. You also don't eat. You don't wear. There are such people. Then you grab everything and bring to your house. Your house become like garbage. You are living here in hungry ghost realm. Have you seen such places? I have been to such places. I was so terrified. Because no doubt there are hungry ghosts, for sure. So, mentality of a hungry ghost is developed here and now. If you were to die with such a mind, definitely you will be born as a hungry ghost and you become unhappy. Why? In the first place, as a human being, you are unhappy. What goes from this life to next life is Not body, but our mind. Conditioned mind. So if you condition your mind to be a hungry ghost here and now, you are the one who lead the way to be born in hungry ghost realm. One day, two ascetics came to the Buddha. One of them Senior, the other one was Punna. They strongly believed that certain ascetic practices can lead them to be born in the heaven. So according to this strange belief in the time of the Buddha, one of them was practicing dog asceticism. The other one was practicing ox asceticism. The one who was practicing dog asceticism, he eat like a dog, sleep like a dog, walk like a dog, and did everything like a dog. I don't have to say everything, correct? So the other one practiced ox asceticism, and they strongly believe this is a good practice. And after the death, they can be born in the heaven. So two of them came to the Buddha, and they asked, Venerable Sir, my friend practiced ox asceticism, I practice dog asceticism, and we strongly believe after the death we can be born in the heaven. Is it possible? Because they have heard Buddha is the enlightened one, he knows this world, next world, he has got these and all this. So they came with this question. Buddha said, being a human being and having a human body and mind, but if you were to practice the mentality of a dog, manners of the dog, behavior of the dog, after the death, you will be a dog. So hungry ghost realm, of course, hungry ghosts exist among the human beings. Even some human beings behave like hungry ghosts. And their mentality, their development of such mental habit eventually will lead them to be Peta realm. So Petas are unhappy beings. But according to the Buddhist teaching, these beings who are known as Petas, and they are not permanent like ourselves, after their karmic energy is over, they will be born somewhere else. So it's a very different concept from the Tao religious point of view. They are not in a place, in a lock-up place, but we recognize them as shadow-like beings. So they are not having gross type of astral bodies. If you want to know a little bit more about it, Buddha actually, in Pottapada Sutta, talks about 3 types of bodies. He said in Pottapada Sutta, we have 3 types of body. First type of body is known as Olarika Attabhava. Olarika Attabhava means the physical body which can be touched, which should be fed with foods and drinks, and which can be used to move items. And this is the body that we all know. Then he said, based on this body, inside this body, there is another body which is called Manomaya Attabhava, means mind-made body. Buddhism also teaches the possibility, if you develop your mind and you can go to the extent to develop your psychic abilities to achieve a kind of extra perceptions related special types of knowledge, which is known as Manomaya Patihari, means ability to separate these gross types of body and subtler types of body. Buddha once said to Venerable Ananda, Ananda, if I wish, I can exercise my power even to appear in Brahma realm with my subtler bodies. So when we talk about this subtle body, which is mind-made body, this is astral body. And some people like to call in today, in modern terms, like bioplasma bodies and such kind of terms are also used to mean something that we are talking about in Buddhism. And then the third type of body, of course, is Sanyamaya Attabhava, which is a formless body. Now, when we talk about these 3 bodies, for our discussions here, the first 2 are important. Now, what will happen? This body change and change and change and come to a point and it cannot hold anymore at the moment of the death. But you have so much greed and desire and attachment. You cannot let go your condo. You cannot let go your car. You cannot let go your money because you have so much desire. You have so much attachment. You are not ready to die at all. What will happen? The moment this physical body collapses to the ground, you will hang around with the second body. And these are the beings called beta.
Bhante, actually,
Those who appear with the second body.
sorry, actually that was a leading question. The question is like, I've got some friends and you know lah, cannot find the right woman. So I'm always like, hey bro, your standard too high lah. But very unhappy. Then there are some friends who are like, found the right woman already, but one not enough. So not happy also. So what is the advice you think should be given to such people?
You know, this is the cause of suffering.
Yeah, exactly. So I was thinking like from a Buddhist perspective, right? How should I?
From the Buddhist perspective, this is the very, very cause root of suffering, which is tanha. When Buddha says, tanha is the cause root of suffering, second noble truth. It leads to first noble truth, which is suffering. When you are unsatisfied, you are suffering. Correct? Yayan tanha pono bhavika tatra tatra binandini seyatidang kama tanha bhava tanha vibhavatana. It is this very craving which look for fresh delight here, fresh delight there, which lead to rebirth, which is sensual desire, desire for rebecoming, desire for annihilation, non-becoming. So this is nothing but craving, cause of suffering. So you are going to grab one suffering after another suffering, one after another. So what do you want me to say?
So I should just tell my friends like, hey, you're just creating more unhappiness for yourself.
Well, you can teach them Four Noble Truths. And you can tell them there's a way out of it. And another way, when you know Four Noble Truths, perhaps knowing suffering, you can less suffer. Perhaps knowing cause of suffering, you can less suffer. Here and now is also visible. So eventually you can end your suffering. So the best gift that you can give is Four Noble Truths. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other question?
I'm holding the mic. Bhante, I have a very short question. I know of a real case where a monk is being killed for amulets. So can Bhante explain what is the power of these amulets that is so much sought after and people are willing to kill for it? Yeah.
You ask me, I ask you. I also ask the same question. I also still do not look for the answer.
But it's so popular. Everybody wants an amulet for protection.
So now you know why Buddha prohibited monks practicing exorcism? Yeah.
Okay, we have time for 2 more questions.
Morning, Bhante. Thank you for the insightful talk. Earlier on, you mentioned about blessed streams and blessed water. Where can we get them?
You can... there are monasteries where specifically they prepare this water in special occasions like Vesak. What do the monks do before Vesak? Around 3 months in their evening chanting time, they prepare this water and bless these rings. One of the places is Sri Lankarami Buddhist temple where I came from, and we practice that. And the Katina ceremony is another occasion we prepare these special water and the blessed rings. But I believe that there are other monasteries also. You might go to Vatananda monastery and many Theravada Buddhist traditions in monasteries, not Buddhist societies, basically in monasteries, they might prepare the blessed water and strings, especially during Vesak period and Katina period. But other than that, in other period also you can go and request it. And if they have, they might give you, or otherwise they might prepare it for you.
So the water come in bottle or form?
Yes, yes. It is normal water. It's normal water. What do they do? In ancient time, what do they do? Of course, I mean, in overnight Parita chanting, they use the earthen pot and they boil the water and filter them and purify the water first and use the earthen vessels. And then we connect it with the string made of cotton wool. And the idea is sound vibration can travel through strings and water. So that is the idea behind it. So when the monks, when they do Parita chanting and sound vibration is produced, as I said, the sound is a form of energy. Sound is a form of energy. And the sound energy can have healing power. The sound energy also can make you sick. Suppose now right up over there, somebody is drilling this. What will happen to you? What will feel you? You feel so irritated, correct? You get angry and agitated. Suppose if you were to live 1 hour here and somebody is drilling this, doing some renovation work, what will happen? So this is destructive sound energy, disturbance sound energy. At the same time, of course, Parita chanting is an other aspect of it. It has got healing power, soothing power, ability to calm down. So in Parita chanting, the water and its strings are used, and it is believed that the water molecules can absorb the sound energy. A few years back, I do not know whether some of you read or not, some of the Japanese scientists have done some experiments. I think maybe these materials are still available online. You might read them. And there are others also who do such experiments. Some Russian the scientists also have done such experiments. So this is a belief. This is a belief. So we Buddhists, we believe it. Not only Buddhists, of course, in other religions also we believe it. Going along with this belief, we give the blessed water and its strings.
Okay, one last question. Before this happened many years ago, before I came to BF, I was working very late in the office at night. The office is deserted, and then suddenly I heard footsteps. Pop, pop, pop. And then all my good pimples came out, and then I quickly shut down my computer and ran. So can you tell me, in such instances, what should one do? Because a colleague in the office, he has this, he can see aura. I think he meditates to a certain extent. He told me he's a man, don't be afraid of him. But I feel very uncomfortable, and I resign after that. Yeah, what should we do?
Being a Buddhist, at any time, any place, if you were to feel fear in such places, and the Buddha's advice is to recollect the virtue of the Buddha and recite Itipiso Bhagava. There is a discourse in Pali Canon called Dajagga Paritta. Dajagga is banner, the banner of protection. In this discourse, the Buddha recommends his followers, monks or nuns or lay people, at any time you feel fear and what is it called? Goose pimple. Okay, whatever such occasions, you recollect the virtue of the Buddha and recite Itipiso Bhagava. So, if not, then of course recollect the virtue of the Dhamma. If not, then recollect the virtue of the Sangha. So this is the advice given by the Buddha. The moment you think of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, all your fear will disappear if you are a practicing Buddhist. Not Buddhist by label or by birth, but by practice. All your fear will disappear.
Okay, we have time for one last question here, I think. If you make it short, then more questions.
Hi, Bhante, thanks. So I'd like to refer to your earlier point that you mentioned that the Sangha are not supposed to practice exorcism. So my question is wondering, is the Vinaya from the three traditions the same in terms of forbidding exorcism?
I think so, because of course Vinaya later stage in different tradition we have diverted and we have changed. But as I told you at the very beginning, today my talk is based on Theravada Buddhist school. So I'm talking from the Theravada Vinaya point of view. I'm not going to talk about the Mahayana perspective on this matter. According to the Vinaya that we have preserved in Theravada Buddhist school, Buddhist monks are prohibited practicing exorcism. But at the same time, I told you that exorcist practice is also part of Tibetan Buddhist teachings. So I'm not going to elaborate or talk about it. That's not my domain. And I also don't have any ethical right to talk about it.
Okay, sorry, brothers and sisters. I know this is a very hot topic, but we need to let Bhante go off. So can I request Bhante to do sharing of merits?
Okay, shall we put our palms together? Friends, be happy and joyful. Today also having come to the BF, we have accumulated a lot of merits. We paid our homage to the triple gems. We practiced meditation, listened to the Dhamma sermon. The merits we acquired be upon the good devas. May the good devas rejoice over these merits. Having shared these merits, may the devas protect you, protect your loved ones, protect the dispensation of the Buddha. May the devas attain bliss of Nibbana. Our departed relatives and friends, wherever they are, may they all share these merits. Having shared these merits, may they be free from worries and sufferings. Be well, be happy. May all our departed loved ones attain bliss of Nibbana. May the great blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha be upon all of you. May all of your good wishes, good dreams come true. May there be peace and happiness in your life. May these merits be helpful to refrain from the evil, to cultivate the good, to follow the noble path of the Buddha and attain bliss of Nibbana.